Hey Fruit Faces, good morning. What I want to talk with you today is actually about going raw. I have kind of tried to go raw a couple times. I think I've never really been very motivated. Like the last time I really thought I was gonna do it, but I also never really even committed to going 100% raw. Most people I think realize by now, that you don't need to be 100% raw to get the benefits of eating mostly raw food. The argument that I usually see is that if you eat a little bit, it proves that you're addicted. And I don't think it's really fair to just break it down into, say, cooked and raw necessarily, because there could be other compounds that are making you be addicted to those foods that you're not even noticing. And I don't believe that there's necessarily a certain compound that you could actually get addicted to that's in all cooked foods. I could be wrong about that, but it just doesn't make sense because some people are eating a lot of really different types of cooked foods. When I eat, I tend to not eat enough. It's a pure restrictive mentality for me. And it's not that I crave certain things, it's just that I get too hungry. And then I start to get hungry for more calorie-dense foods. And I guess if you eat, especially in the beginning when you're going raw, a lot of avocados, that you can overcome this. But I'm just I really haven't been convinced that extra boost is necessary, especially when I look around and see a lot of these fully raw people not fully thriving, in my opinion, on their diet or lifestyle. A lot of people that are the very ones who are really strict, really adamant, and they just never, to me, look the best. I don't know. I just don't think that raw is completely necessary. And I talked about that in my Mio Paleo. Apes in the wild will eat cooked foods, naturally even, and they will seek out such foods. Whenever you're trying to be healthy, you need a large variety. And I think that a lot of different cooked foods have a lot of great nutrients, and a lot of great nutrients that, interestingly enough, people need, and vegans especially need to get. Now, I'm not saying you need these all the time, you need these every other meal. I mean, I'm not against doing a raw vegan fast or cleanse that. If that's my type of a cleanse. If I'm doing a cleanse, it's going to be just basically raw vegan fruits and salad, some sort of banana island, or even just fruits, just fruits that'll be a cleanse to me. I really don't think it's an addiction. I can stay pretty satisfied, again, for a little while off of I've been 3 days raw, I think is my max. But again, if you're open to foods, you're going to be open to a lot more fattening and salty foods than you are just by eating fruits and vegetables, just by nature. It's just like any other restrictive diet where you end up restricting calories, but it's packaged in a nice pretty box that isn't all about restricting calories, because everybody knows you restrict calories, you lose weight. But with say paleo, you cut out grains, you cut out a lot of cakes and cookies and stuff like that, and ideally, and so that's how you lose weight. With raw veganism, it's the same thing. You cut out a lot of stuff. Even with healthy foods, we add unhealthy stuff to them, and that's why it's easy to just draw the line and say, I'm just going to be simple, I'm going to stay away from all those foods. But you could really, essentially, if you learn how to do it right, have a much healthier lifestyle, in my opinion, if you're including some of these extra foods with their extra nutrients that you're not going to get. Again, keeping with the variety, not saying you have to eat these all the time or a certain amount or anything like that. Just make sure you're allowing yourself to stay open, but you're keeping your salt and your fat really low. And that you're not really, I would say, cooked foods no more than 30% of your diet. I'm really into raw foods. But again, I think that the mentality, and I say this in a lot of other videos, the mentality of restricting is just against what I want to do. I want to be open, I want it to be easy. I want to stay carved up, ultimately, and be healthy. And, living a busy lifestyle, you need lots of energy. So I can't be falling behind and binging on fatty foods. That ultimately, I tried that too. I tried that whole high fat. I felt very sluggish. Did not have a lot of energy. And I'm not knocking if anybody else feels better on raw or wants to go raw. I'm not saying it's like paleo. You can say, oh, well, nobody felt better off paleo. But that's not the true. It actually does help some people to a certain extent. Because again, if you take away, you know, certain things out of somebody's diet that are unhealthy, you're going to feel better, right? You're going to feel better than you did at that point when you were still ingesting those other unhealthy items. So you take them out, you're better off. Your blood levels are better, you look better, you're losing weight, etc. Like, it's not rocket science, and it can happen on, it obviously can happen on raw veganism. Like, let's say you're addicted to fucking, you know, Burger King French fries. They're vegan, but you're addicted to them, you eat them every day, and then all of a sudden you stop eating them. Like, your whole body's going to change. And so you can lose habits that way. Again, I absolutely do not feel like if I eat a little bit of cooked food, I'm going to eat a ton of it. No, I do what I always do. I eat what I need. I really, I eat more frequently, I would say now. So I eat kind of smaller portions. I just kind of went back to my roots on that because I've always been like that. And I kind of fought myself with it at the beginning. Eat these big smoothies, you know, be proud of how much you're eating at once. And I kind of got sucked into that. And it's just not necessary. I like to eat every couple of hours, you know, a few hundred calories or whatever I feel like, 3 or 4 probably. You can use the raw vegan diet to help you get rid of those bad habits and then go back to eating, like, let's say, a little bit of rice with my little low fat, low salt, sweet chili sauce I've shown you in multiple videos. It's a little couple of drops of sriracha. So, you know, I'm keeping this meal really low in fat, really low in salt. And then and only then do I notice that it doesn't bother me. If I eat a lot of salt, if I eat a lot of fat, then it's like a junk food. A lot of research, you know, being done on the salt, and there's a lot of research on salt being covered up as well. Beware of salt. I know I talk about that all the time, but, you know, especially if you want to lose weight, like, you've got to focus on the salt. And you don't have to get crazy about it, you know, but you have to really know your salts. You have to know your foods. You have to know the salt levels of your foods and actively seek out low sodium. Because even I, you know, for years, I've been trying to lower my salt level, and it is a difficult task. And if you're going to succeed, you're going to have to stick to it. And that's why I think this is such a better mentality than just focusing on raw, you know, because again, raw never lasts for me. So why do something if it's not going to last? It's going to mess, you know, I want to be on an even, my whole life is about being on an even keel. Like, I like to do the same things. I like to get in a groove, do what works. I'm not saying, again, it doesn't work for everybody, but this is just what I found. And I've seen a lot of people who are in the same boat as me, like, who couldn't make it work, didn't want to make it work, didn't see the point. It's like an idea, you like get it on raw, you're like, oh my gosh, like, raw is such a great, beautiful place with rainbows and yada, yada, yada. And then you're like, you get there and you're like, wait a second, like, I don't feel that different. Like, what the hell? I thought this was the next step. Like, I thought this was going to make me feel like as great as veganism did. It's like, no, doesn't really do that. Like, actually, I'm really fucking hungry and tired, and I really want to eat something warm. So again, people who say that it's like, oh, some kind of like addiction, well, it may be, but like, how many different compounds in this food are you addicted to? Every nutrient you're addicted to. Carbohydrates, you're addicted to. Like, all the macros, you're addicted to those too. So don't be telling me, you know, and not every food has, like, even if it's a whole food plant-based item, even if it's raw, it's not going to have completely 100% positive benefits on you. There is probably going to be something in that fruit, whether it's a tiny little compound, an anti-nutrient that's inside of, you know, that blocks something. Like, there's negative parts about spinach and broccoli and all this other stuff. Like, it's just, so any way that you look at it, there's going to be a reason not to eat something. And again, just cutting out like whole food groups, like, just isn't my thing. Plus, I really like variety. I like the flexibility of being able to go to a party and serve some enchiladas that I made that are totally vegan. Yeah, take a look at my Neo Paleo videos if you haven't seen it. I think of it as kind of another alternative, kind of similar to Roquefort in a way, but again, it's just less restrictive in a lot of different ways. So sweet potatoes to me are like so close to being a fruit, you know, things like that. Squash, melon, it's like, where do you draw the line? But for some reason, the raw people, like, if you have to cook it before you eat it, then, but to me, I'd say include those. Include pumpkins and squashes and things that are real, truly holy food. But I like rice too, and I think that's close enough. And I really think that the studies that rice has been proven to be okay. And, you know, rice may not have been eaten by the apes, but it definitely was eaten by our ancestors even hundreds, you know, I would say thousands, not hundreds of thousands of years, definitely tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of years. We've been eating cereal grasses and grains and stuff like that way longer than most people think. So anyway, I think we've adapted to it. I definitely think that we were eating cooked foods before we were eating a lot of meat across the board, or certainly dairy, or a lot of other things, oils and things that a lot of paleo people try to eat. So again, more on this type of stuff and my meal paleo videos to kind of explain why exactly, kind of help back this up if you need any more info. But I just want to get this off my chest and let you guys know like what I feel about this, because I see a lot of people going raw. I see a lot of people spending so much energy, so much dedication. It's like it's kind of, I don't want to say, oh, it's an egotistical thing, but because that's not what I'm trying to say. But I think for some people it becomes this ideal, you know, pie in the sky thing that they are like obsessed. It becomes kind of an orthorexic thing, because to me, in my mind, because they're trying so hard and then they ultimately fail and then they have to make a video about it, and then it's like, wow, you are like really should be focusing on this energy, could be better focused somewhere else that's truer, you know, because like honestly, who cares? It's like raw, natural living, raw, sweet living. You know, he acts raw in a way, but he never preaches like 100% raw. He eats the hell out of some sweet potatoes, squash, pumpkin, stuff like that. Like that's the shit right there. Like if you eat raw like most of the time, and then in the wintertime maybe you eat some cooked squash, that's fucking awesome. Like I can be down with that type of raw vegan. And I'm not against raw vegans. I'm really not. Like do what you want. Again, if it makes you feel better, then heck yeah. But whenever I see a bunch of, oh, I'm trying to go raw now, I'm going to do this raw thing, it's like, yeah, I've been there, I've done that, and I'm just not that interested in, like, dealing with that whole situation anymore. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Go meal paleo. Look into meal paleo, because it really is an alternative, and it's a really good thing to kind of really niche out, really carve out, like, a really good staple, a really good diet filled with staples. Yeah, don't forget to eat your fruit. Mostly raw. Mostly raw, people. Let's go. Mostly raw. Mio. What is it? Paleo. Vegan. Mio. Paleo. Vegan. How pimp is that? It's our sign. We've got a gang sign. If you want to join my cult, you guys, this is my new cult, basically, is what this is. Don't go raw. Go Mio Paleo. M-I-O Paleo. It's based off of the olden times when hominids and human species were very first being made, very first coming into existence, and our foundations for our digestive system and our entire system were set. So the Mio Paleo Vegan, MPV, hashtag it up. Check me out on Instagram. You can see some ideas. And again, it's not really strict, because apes and hominids, they are opportunist. They can handle a little bit of shit. I eat some salt, or yeah, I'll splurge and have some, you know, things that like an ape or hominid like wouldn't have been able to get. And again, I'll eat rice, which they wouldn't have had white rice. I'm really blabbing today, but anyway, I think I've made my original point. Check it out. MPV, baby. I'll talk to you guys later. Don't forget to eat your fruit.